Have you seen this painting in the Louvre in Paris? You stand before the painting and feel a shiver run through you. Sardanapalus, the last king of Assyria, a ruler known more for his love of pleasure than for his people. A man who preferred wine over war and passion over power. And when his empire crumbled, when enemies breached the gates of Nineveh, he didn't fight. He chose to die and to take everything he ever loved with him. His women, his gold, his servants, and his horses. All of it thrown onto a pyre, all of it consumed by flames. This is not just a painting of destruction, it's the end of the world. Not the world itself, but his world. Eugène Delacroix painted it in 1827. It was the biggest painting he had ever made. He painted it without a buyer or a commission because he wanted to. And he took a big risk. No one had ever painted a story like this before. Delacroix was known for his vibrant use of color and his fascination with Orientalism. He is considered one of the most famous artists of the 19th century. The death of Sardanapalus is deeply inspired by Oriental aesthetics, but the scandal it caused was not so much because of the nudity or the violence depicted. It was because of the colors, the composition, and the overwhelming sense of chaos. This painting has often been called a massacre on canvas. Delacroix took inspiration from Lord Byron's play, but he painted it entirely different. He painted his own vision, his own world. And that world under King Charles X was already in decline. Everything was burning. With this painting, Delacroix was not just telling the story of an ancient king, he was predicting the fall of France itself. Delacroix showed the painting at the Paris Salon in 1828. Critics hated it. People were shocked. It was too violent, too sexual, and too strange. Sardanapalus did not look like a hero. He looked cold, like someone enduring death around him. Critics were especially disturbed by how Delacroix broke all the rules. Perspective, composition, anatomy. There is barely any depth. Everything is pushed right into the foreground. The bed, the figures, the wood, the objects, it all piles up chaotically. The anatomy is distorted, the emotions exaggerated or strangely absent, like the woman in the center who gazes out dreamily at the viewer while violence unfolds around her. The contrast between dark-skinned male figures and pale-skinned naked women thrown together with animals was deeply unsettling at that time. But Delacroix was provoking on purpose. After the Salon, Delacroix could not sell the painting. It was too big. No private collector wanted it, and even royal museums said no. It was a disaster for Delacroix. He had spent so much time, money, and energy to it, and now this painting stands for almost 20 years in his studio. In 1846, he finally sold it to a rich Irish chemist named Wilson who loved modern art, but he died young and the painting was stored in a cold, damp castle in Scotland. The canvas started to bend, the painting began to crack, the masterpiece was falling apart. When Delacroix saw it again in 1849, he was heartbroken. The masterpiece was ruined. The painting was restored in 1856. but he could not show it at the World's Fair in 1855, so it was a mischance. Then it passed through 6 different owners. Finally, in 1921, almost 100 years after it was painted, the death of Sardanapalus was brought to the Louvre Museum in Paris. And after the Second World War, it was restored again. And today, it hangs proudly in the Louvre, one of the most famous museums in the world. The painting did not just inspire artists, it also inspired musicians, like Franz Liszt, the most famous Hungarian composer. He wanted to write an opera called Sardanapalus, but he never finished it. There is only one act of this opera. The second one is Hector Berlioz, one of the most famous romantic composer, and then by Maurice Ravel. The death of Sardanapalus is not just a story about the end of a king. It's about the end of the world, the collapse of control, the ecstasy of destruction, the beauty of surrender. And Delacroix gave it to us in one devastating, unforgettable image. You stood before the painting, now you know what you were looking at. The end of a world.